Hello, my name is Brady and welcome back to my channel. I am a Kindergarten Spanish Immersion teacher, and this year I am documenting what I hope to be will be my last year in the classroom, and I'm documenting everything I do along the way. So that sounds like something you'd like to follow. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel, and today we're going to be talking about what do we do in the first 3 days of a Spanish immersion classroom. Now, if you don't know what a dual language classroom is where we have kindergarten students who are going to be fully immersed in the language, and in my case for 3.5 hours a day. Now, there are dual language programs that are full day, but for kindergarten and my program, it is just a half a day. A little more information on how this works. Currently this year I have 43 students, and so I get 23 of them in the morning and 20 in the afternoon, and we slowly work up to an English classroom into a Spanish classroom, teaching all content areas. We focus on phonics, reading strategies, math, science, social studies, and writing. Okay, not only do we follow our state standards, but we also have language objectives and standards that we have to follow. Now, my lesson plans are always ambitious, especially for only getting my kids for about 3 hours a day after you take out lunchtime, specials, transitions. I still plan almost always for a full entire day, and I will adjust based on my classroom needs, but currently the first couple of days I am thinking of these students at their base of maybe being 4 years old, and what would be developmentally appropriate for a 4-year-old to be doing during their school day. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with a half day. If your first day is a half day, there's not much else that you are going to get done besides greeting your students, maybe getting to know their names, having a read aloud, some recess, and then showing your students basically how to pack up. You might be able to get in a little bit more if you're lucky, but let's talk a little bit about what that would look like. Okay, as my students arrive, I always start with a coloring sheet. Most students by this age know how to color, so they can come in pretty confidently and sit down at a table spot or with a clipboard and some crayons and get coloring right away. While those students are coloring, I can be greeting kids at the door. I can be walking them over to their desks. I can be showing them how to hang up their backpacks, and discuss the importance of what my name is and what their name is. I want to establish right away that they are important in my classroom. Okay, now when I get my kindergartners through with their coloring sheet, we've taken attendance, we've talked about lunch count. And while I say take attendance and talk about lunch count, I am not teaching how to take attendance. I'm not teaching how to do lunch count. That's not something I do on the very first half day of school. Okay, I take care of those things on my end, and then eventually we all make it to the carpet. The very first thing that we talk about is recess expectations, because let's face it, when these 4 and 5-year-olds come into the classroom, the thing that they're most excited about is getting to go to recess. So I start out my day with a story, and then we talk about the recess expectations, and what that looks like is a PowerPoint slide of me showing them the different parts of the playground, the different parts outside where they're allowed to play and be safe. And then we actually go out to the playground and I play a game with them called Oh No and Eso. Eso means yes, that's right, that's good. Okay, so I take them out to the playground and I do some really silly things on the playground, some appropriate and some inappropriate. And my students are going to encourage me by saying, Eso, eso. If I'm following directions, I'm swinging on the swing on my bottom. I'm going down the slide on my bottom. I'm being safe. They're going to keep cheering me on, saying, Eso, eso. And maybe they see me do something, okay? Maybe I try to slide down on my belly. Or maybe I go to a part of the playground where I'm not supposed to be. My children are going to shout out, oh no, oh no, okay? Then when we get back into the classroom, we might recap a little bit about the game, and then I tell them, I'm sure to tell them, hey friends, today when we go out to recess, when I see you showing expectations, I'm going to cheer you on, and I'm going to use those words, okay? And then if I see them not following the expectations, I'm going to say, oh no, friend, like what happened? Okay, so that's the first types of things that we kind of get into. Now, after I've given them a demonstration of how the recess playground works, we might pause in our day again to talk about the restroom, because by this time you've probably been in school 45 minutes to an hour, and there is bound to be someone who needs to talk about the restroom. Okay? I have a restroom in my classroom. I'm very lucky this year. I've had a few years where I haven't had a restroom in the classroom, and it's been a little bit different, but the same concept. I show my students a little PowerPoint slide or Google Slides of what our bathroom looks like. And we kind of go through, like, I show them pictures of someone who left toilet paper in the toilet, who dropped toilet paper on the floor, who left a paper towel outside of the waste bin, who left the water faucet running, all of those different things. And we go through these different scenarios and we talk about the expectations for the classroom. We talk about why the door might be closed and when it is okay to enter, and if we come out because of an emergency, to remember to pull up our pants. Okay, same thing. And we even take like a little tour of the bathroom. And of course, it can be expected that your kids are going to want to get up and at this point use the restroom. They're going to want to. Now that you've explained it to them, expect to have a nice long line there. So maybe prepare with a song they can do, movement, a read aloud, because they're going to want to get into the restroom. Okay, excuse me. So mom life, have to pause for a second. Okay, so left off, we were talking about the bathroom. Okay, now after we're done talking about the bathroom, the first day of school, we don't really want to like bombard them with content. We want to make it fun. We want to keep it light. But because I am in a special scenario of teaching them Spanish for the very first time, I like to kind of play with them a little bit and show them that they already know more Spanish than they think they do. Because especially in the environment that we're in the city that we're living, it's kind of around us all the time. So we kind of introduce the alphabet chart. We sing a couple of songs. We read the story Chicka Chicka Boom Boom, which there's a Spanish version of it called Chicka Chicka Boom Boom. And eventually by the end of the book, the kids are singing along with me or reading along with me. And that really just encourages them and lets them know that they're in a safe place and they can experiment with their language in a way that feels comfortable to them. Chicka Chicka Boom Boom is a great story because most of them have already heard it in the English setting before. And actually this year, now it's a part of the English classroom's curriculum. They are using Wit and Wisdom this year for the first year, and Chicka Chicka Boom Boom is one of those stories. So they'll be able to hear it in both classrooms and be able to make some connections, and that'll be really healthy for them. So, now, the next thing we do is we just practice a little bit with our pencil. We might air write some strokes for making the letter M or making the letter I or anything like that. And then I let them show me that they can be the boss of their own pencil. And I have them go back to their desks and they kind of show me if they can write a straight line. Okay, let me pull up really quickly what that looks like. It's just a simple worksheet with handwriting lines on it. The bubbles are for where they begin, and then they stop at the bottom. I give them the opportunity to write their name. Many of them, you still have to prompt them. They don't know to write their name up on the top, but this is kind of what it looks like. This is just one of the activities that I can get an idea of. Do they know how to hold a pencil? Do they know how to write their name? And what are their skills? Now, after you talk about recess expectations, if you have time, like you're a full day teacher and you've got a lot of extra time, you can have the students draw themselves playing safely on the playground. And then this is just the coloring sheet that I use as they're coming into their school day. Sorry, I apologize. I forgot to show those to you guys in the very beginning. But this is just beginning strokes. We don't say we're making letters. All we talk about is formation of making a straight line. And this can be very telling. I don't normally take notes. I just kind of take it all in at this time because it is the first day of school. Okay. Now, I like to share with parents a few of the activities that we did on the first day of school. So this says mi primer día in kinder, and it talks about a couple of the activities that we did. So we learned the rules for the playground in the bathroom. We read a story with our teacher. We sang the Spanish alphabet and practiced making letter strokes. And we had fun getting to know our classroom teacher and our classmates. Okay. Now, this whole Campo de Kindergarten is included in my Teachers Pay Teachers store. This is just another thing that's inside of the kindergarten camp. It's kind of just like a quick card that you can refer to if you're not used to using some of these strategies or they're new to you. So there's instructions on the games, eso y o no, the kind of strategy that I use for teaching them the recess expectations and the bathroom expectations. We play a game, at the arrival, the first time that we sit at the carpet, we get to know their names and we sing a song called Jump Up and Down. Now, at the beginning, the only thing that we're doing in Spanish is when we jump all together, we say niños, niños, jump up and down, jump up and down, jump up and down, niños, niños, jump up and down, turn around and sit back down. Okay, you can replace niños with the name of a student, like Jackson, Jackson, jump up and down, jump up and down, jack up and down, Jackson, Jackson, jump up and down, turn around and sit back down. Now, if you're fully Spanish, the instructions for the game are fully in Spanish here. I add in more Spanish words as we go through the year. We might play this every day for the first couple of days of school if you have a really busy group of students and they really love this activity. Or it might just be something that you pull out every once in a while during your morning meeting. Or if you get a new student mid-year, this is another great activity to do with them again. Okay, there's also some notes about what whole brain teaching is. I introduce whole brain teaching strategies the very first day of school. Okay, one of the things that we talk about the very first day of school is how to greet someone when you meet them. So I'll take attendance at the beginning of the day and I'll say each student's name. I'll look them in the eye and I will tell them buenos dias. And then they can respond to me, buenos dias, if they feel comfortable, okay? Giving saludos is one of those things where the whole brain is in mind. Giving saludos, and are they listening to you? Are they understanding what you're saying? Are they able to respond to you? Okay, so we'll talk a little bit more about what whole brain teaching looks like. Now, on the full day of kindergarten, maybe your second day, if you've got a full day, the day looks a little bit similar. They're going to come into a coloring sheet. The teacher is going to greet them at the door. I'm going to remind them to greet me with buenos dias. Maybe give me a high five, a handshake, or a wave, whatever they feel comfortable with. And as they're greeting me at the door, I'm directing them to the table, to their coloring sheet, reminding them to hang up their backpack. Of course, I have visuals for them in the classroom on our classroom screen to kind of remind them that there is a coloring sheet for them to do. They do need to hang up their backpack and they are going to greet their teacher, just for a visual, any of those visual learners that you have. And then we practice lining up. Okay, so when we're ready to come to the carpet, we might practice, empujando sus sillas, pushing in your chairs, standing behind your chair. What does a line look like? It's the first full day of school for us, so we are going to be moving around the building. Okay, so before I even get into talking about anything else for that day, we practice lining up. Okay, so very quickly into the school day, you'll have a first recess, or you'll have an assembly, or you'll have lunchtime, and your kids will want to know how to line up in your classroom. And as a teacher, you're going to want to make that, as stress-less as possible. So teaching that routine of lining up at the door. You don't have to talk about walking in the hallway yet if you're not ready for that, but at least this is how we line up in our classroom where we're getting ready to leave. So then when you actually have to leave, you're ready to go. That's a really important one, especially if there's ever an emergency that first day of school and you have to evacuate, or if there's a practice drill or something, you don't want your students not having that information of how to line up in the classroom. So I take care of that, running the very first day of school. Okay, the very first full day. Now, I do a little read aloud with them after we practice lining up. You can pick any read aloud that you love. This year and last year, I chose Nuestra clase es una familia. It's not necessarily my favorite story, but it's a story. It gets the point across. It lets them know that you love them. It's another story that they're probably going to hear in their English classroom. So it'll be a little bit familiar to them. Then we go through our calendar for the very first time. We go through our calendar routine. I do calendar all in Spanish. So they're going to get días de la semana, los números, colores, y los meses. They're going to get the months, colors, days of the week, and the numbers all in one during that calendar time. Okay, and my calendar, we do patterns. We don't teach patterns in class anymore, so really the only area in my classroom where we talk about patterns is on the calendar piece. So right now in el mes de agosto, in the month of August, I have blue and yellow, and we rotate those numbers, or odd even numbers, amarillo, azul. It gives them good practice in Spanish, and it also is just reinforcing the concept of patterns. Now, this next activity that I do is I start by, let me show you. This is the coloring sheet that they walk into on the second day of school. Again, this can be very telling. Like, do your students know how to use appropriate colors for an apple? And then we move into classroom promises, or promesas del aula. Now, this is something, maybe day 2, your students aren't ready for this, okay? Day 2, if they're not ready, this is something that you can hold off another day or 2 with. But you also want to kind of set the tone for the year. So you can go into the activity of classroom promises. Now, this is not my idea. I think I got this from Teaching in Polka Dots. Either way, I'll try to link it below because I can't think of it off the top of my head. And in my written lesson plans, there's a link to the resource. But what we do is we learn about being a kind friend and a kind student. We start by reading the story David va a la escuela, which is David goes to school, and we stop and discuss different things that David is doing. And we have an anchor chart where we sort behaviors of, is this an appropriate behavior for school, sí or no? Right now, again, we're using that Spanish, but not in an intimidating way, because we can all understand sí and no. We do that kind of sort. Now, there is a resource on Teachers Pay Teachers also with like the David anchor chart. If you want to use that, I can just create my own. And then we talk about the classroom promises that we can make for our classroom. Now, I don't try to use everything that the students say and everything from that resource, because of course my building has 4 pillars that are their school rules. So I kind of always try to bring those classroom promises back to those 4 pillars. Okay, so maybe a classroom promise is that I'm not going to roll around on the carpet, because that's something that kindergartners do. And I bring that back to, I promise I'm not going to roll on the carpet because I'm going to be respectful of my teacher. I'm going to be respectful of my classmates. Okay, and when we roll around on the teacher, we're not engaged in learning. When we're rolling around on the carpet, we're disturbing other friends. So if you have pillars for your building, try to bring those classroom promises back to the pillars. And if they don't have anything to do with your pillars, it's okay to add them or to just scrap them. Don't add them at all because they don't pertain to your school building pillars, okay? I mostly try to stay focused on being safe, being kind, respectful, and engaged in learning. So any rules that pertain to that, that's what I go with, okay? Traveling on in the day, we do a little bit of phonics time, and on day 2, that looks like, again, looking at the Spanish alphabet, looking at the sounds, rereading Chicka Chicka Boom Boom, not introducing a new story and changing the scenarios for them. We want to keep a few things familiar, especially when we're teaching a second language. We will review yesterday's letter stroke of just the straight line down. And then today we're going to introduce another letter stroke. So we're going to practice in the air. We're going to practice on the carpet. We're going to practice in our hand, and then maybe even I will demonstrate on the whiteboard. Okay. Now, the next thing that they're going to do is we are going to practice those letter strokes back at our desks. Okay. I like to get out white paper, cover the tables, or anchor chart paper or bulletin board paper, whatever you have, and I get out crayons and pencils. And for a few minutes, I let the students practice making un círculo. They're showing me, can they make a circle? Okay, and they just do it over and over and over again, and they fill that whole entire paper. I have had students who have done this for almost 15 minutes, where they are just repetitively making circles with different colors, different sizes, filling this anchor chart to the max. And of course, I display it in the classroom because podemos hacer un círculo. We can draw a circle. Okay. So that's a great way to get them into handwriting and phonics again without it being really intimidating. Okay, on this first full day of school, we do have math. Okay, we use Eureka Math in our building, and the translation is terrible. I will say it is absolutely terrible. So there is a lot of work that goes into that. Premeditated to the lessons because we kind of have to think through the lessons, read through the lessons in the language, how it was written, and then think how can we give that meaning to our students. But on the first day, you want to make sure that you have some Play-Doh ready. We're going to practice counting to 5. This is where I introduce the whole brain teaching strategy, enseña, which is teach. Okay, so if I give you instruction and I want you to show another student how to do what you just learned, we introduce that whole brain teaching strategy. Okay, so what that looks like is, okay, friends, I'm going to show you how to count to the number 5. I'm going to use my fingers as my counting tool today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Repiten todos. Everybody's going to repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, friends, I want you to show me that you know how to count to the number 5. Okay, it's your turn, and I listen to them. Okay, now it's your turn to turn and teach a friend. Okay, when I say teach and I clap my hands twice, you're going to turn to a partner and you are going to count to 5 for them. And then you're going to pause and you're going to listen to them count to 5, and then you're going to turn back. Okay, so if you don't know what the whole brain teaching strategy is, there are tons of videos on YouTube that can show you, but this is where I introduce that strategy of enseñan. We're teaching each other how to count to the number 5. Okay, this is not a big long lesson, anything like that. The next thing that we do is we introduce the shape of the circle, which they will bring in. Oh, we just did that in handwriting. We used the circle, okay? So then we show them the figuros. We practice making circles different ways with our bodies if we can. And then I have them go back to their desk and formar círculos con la plastilina, to form circles with their Play-Doh. And how many circles are they forming? They're forming 5. This is very telling. It's fun for them to get to play with the Play-Doh, but also, do your students understand? Can they count to 5? What are their fine motor skills? This is an activity that kind of tells you lots of things about your students. So now, if you have time for writing, we're going to start with a read aloud at the carpet. I start by calling them writers right away. We read a story called Alma y cómo obtuvo su nombre. Okay, and then we practice the phrase yo soy, which means I am. Okay, and we also practice the phrase mi nombre es, my name is. Okay, I write the phrase for them on the board. We practice telling each other our names. Yo soy Jackson, yo soy Chloe, yo soy Mia. We use an anchor chart. we go into the shapes that we might use to make a person. Okay, vamos a hacer un círculo por la cabeza, una línea derecho for el cuerpo, para el cuerpo. We practiced, making that straight line the day before. Today we practice the circle. So if they can use a straight line and a circle, they can make a body. Okay, and then I send them back to their desks to make a little self-portrait, a stick figure, whatever they can, and then they're writing their name on the line where it says yo soy, and then there's a blank space for them to fill that in with their name. Again, just another opportunity for them to write their name, and I can see a little bit of their fine motor structure. Okay, so this is kind of what that looks like. It says yo soy up at the top. They've got the handwriting lines there. Sometimes if I've had a lot of extra time, I can use what I remember from the day before. There might be some students who needed some supports, like maybe they weren't able to write their name at all, like not even a straight line down. I might go through ahead of time and use a yellow highlighter and write their name on the line, so then all they have to do is trace it. So depending on the year, depending on the group of students that you have and the time that you have, can you help them be successful in that activity? Okay. Now our next day of school, day 3, we again, a full day of school. It is arrival time. Students are going to move into the classroom. They're going to find their morning work on the table. I'm going to use a class song to kind of grab their attention and help them move to the carpet. Okay, we're going to remind them to push in their chairs. We're going to remind them to hang up their backpack, but maybe not as many times, and see if they're kind of falling into that routine. Okay, as students are coming to the carpet, we're going to take attendance. Okay, and they're going to greet me. I'm going to say, good morning, Claire. Buenos días, maestra. Good morning, Sam. Buenos días, maestra. We're practicing saludos. We're practicing that call and answer skill. Now, before we get into calendar time, we talk about partner cards, and I pull out some partner cards. I purchased these in a Teachers Pay Teachers store, and it's just like different pairings that go together. So I hand out all of the partner cards, and I have them practice partnering up or finding a partner. We do this a couple of times, and they get to find different partners throughout the day. Okay. Now, after we learn the routine of finding a partner, we reinforce a couple of the skills that we might have already touched on just a little bit. Okay, colors. When we talk about what are our favorite colors, we get with our partner and we talk about our favorite colors. Okay, we reinforce that skill of the whole brain teaching. Enseña. Okay, I want you to find your partner and teach them your favorite color. Okay, when I clap my hands two times and say enseña, you guys repeat. Okay, and you turn to your partner and you tell them, my favorite color is red. Mi color preferido es rojo. Some of your kids, especially if you have a mentor kid in your class, they're going to be able to say that. And if they can't, it's okay if they say it in English. Okay, and you'll notice that a lot of them will pick blue and yellow, because blue and yellow is the color you learned the day before on calendar. So that's just another thing that we do. We get into phonics again. On day 3, we do the alphabet chant. We talk about líneas inclinadas. So we review straight lines, we review circles, and then today we talk about the slanted lines, líneas inclinadas. Okay, and then they get the opportunity to show me líneas inclinadas. Okay, and they start at the bubble and pull down, start at the top and pull down. Now, if you have some fast finishers, you might have them go through and pick their favorite one and circle it, the one that you think that they did the best on. Okay, and remind them we want all of them to look like this. Okay, and then maybe have them practice again on the 3rd row to hopefully get them to do their best work all the way through. If you have some kids who are racing through, sometimes that helps them kind of slow down a little bit. So that's kind of what we do for phonics and reading. Now, again, you can do chicka chicka boom boom again for a 3rd day if you want. Most of the time they don't mind listening to it, or you can pull in a read aloud of your choice. Okay. Now on this third day, we are going to do a little bit of talking about how to show 3-star coloring. 3-star coloring is where we talk about, did you color in the lines? Did you use the correct colors? And did you fill in all of the white spaces? So that's another activity that we do. You can tie that to a read aloud like Harold and the Purple Crayon or I Love to Paint. You can tie it to any beginning of the year read aloud that you like that has to do with colors. That's perfectly fine. And then we have them practice their 3-star coloring, and you're really specific with them. Like if they left any white, you want them to go back and fill it in. Be really specific. It'll make for a really great year if you start giving like really positive feedback from the get-go. Okay, now if you see that a kiddo is like really frustrated and really struggling, of course, go easy on them on this second day of school. But also, like, don't go easy on them just because you think that they can't do it, because they're more than capable. Okay. Math on this third day of school, you want to make sure that you have Play-Doh ready. You're going to practice again counting to 5 in Spanish. You're going to put them together with a partner. They learned how to find partners. They're going to show that friend they know how to count together by 5. Okay, you're going to have them practice making a circle and praise them. Keep encouraging them to start moving to only counting in Spanish. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now we will do a little bit of a math talk. So we might start with the phrase yo veo, and I'll show them different shapes, and we'll say yo veo 3. They don't have to know the name of the shape. We're just focusing on the number word right now and that key phrase, yo veo. Okay, maybe put 4 or 5 magnets up on the board. Yo veo 5. Put 1 magnet on the board. Yo veo 1. Okay, make it very playful and fun for them. Maybe show them a couple of different pictures. 2 kids on swings. ¿Cuántos hay? How many are there? 2, son 2. Okay, show them all of these different things. Maybe we've got play around a little bit with like 2 kids on a swing, 2 kids out in the grass. ¿Cuántos hay en total? How many are there all together? Some of them are going to be able to add groups of numbers together, and this is just a really good time to see where your kids are at math-wise. Okay, all of the instructions for this, again, are in my TPT store, so you can check them out there if you need more details. And then you send them back to work with Play-Doh again today to finish up that math time. And they can do whatever they like with the Play-Doh. Maybe you're giving them different scenarios and they're making the Play-Doh balls at their table instead of being at the carpet as you're giving them different scenarios. Whatever works good for you, whatever you have more time for. Okay? Now, moving on to writing. If you have writing on that last day, you're going to bring the kids to the carpet. Of course, praise for coming to the carpet quickly, for coming to the carpet quietly. And then you're going to talk about some classroom memories so far. Okay, you're on day 3. Camp Kindergarten is almost over. Okay, and you're going to read the story, ¿Cómo van los niños? ¿Cómo van los dinosaurios a la escuela? You're going to read a familiar story. They might have heard How Do Dinosaurs Go to School in English. And if not, you can read both versions if you'd like to. Okay, and then after reading the story, we're going to talk about some of the memories that you had the first couple of days of school. What were their favorite moments? And then you're going to kind of introduce some new vocabulary words. What I like to do is I like to get out a big piece of anchor chart paper with my markers. I introduce the word alfombra, which means the carpet where we're going to sit. We're going to have morning meeting. We're going to have math talks. We're going to do calendar. We're going to do all these fun things in alfombra, okay, at the carpet. And then I'm going to draw a quick sketch of all of us at the carpet. And then I'm going to label alfombra. I'm going to label my picture. I'm just kind of showing them some examples of I can think of an idea, I can draw that idea, and I can label it with a word, because that's one of their first writing goals, is to be able to label pictures. Okay, so we keep it Really easy from there. If they want to share some sentences about their favorite memories underneath the carpet, I might make a sentence like, say, my favorite part of school was making circles. My favorite part of school was going to recess. Okay. And of course, this is all going to be, that can all be in English. It doesn't have to be in Spanish because we are moving. The goal is to, by the end of the year, be speaking in Spanish. We want to make them feel comfortable, especially at day 3 of school. Okay. And this kind of like ends out your camp kindergarten. You've taught routines and procedures that you're going to be using in your classroom. You've made them feel safe and comfortable, and you've done it in a really fun and relaxed way. Okay. Now, of course, there's more routines that you're going to have to teach in week 2 of school, and you may decide to continue on with this idea of camp kindergarten. Normally what I move to next is colors and school supplies, just because those are things that we're going to need all of the time. Okay, so we go into a directed drawing unit of talking about color words and simple objects in Spanish, and then how to use other classroom materials. Now, on the first day of school, the first even week of school, the only materials that my kids have in their school boxes are a pencil, crayons, and Play-Doh. I don't introduce scissors, markers, or glue until maybe day 5 or 6 of school. Expo markers, none of that. I just give them time to work with the basics, and normally they're completely fine with that. So those are just the first 3 days of school in the dual language immersion classroom. The plans for this are available in my TPT store, and if there's something that you'd like to know more or see more about, would you please leave me a comment, and I will do my best to show you a video of that. Remember, my goal for this is to be a resource that you can come to for your dual language classroom, because I do not have a mentor teacher. I do not have someone that I can follow or learn from in the dual language world, and I would like to be that for you if you are a primary teacher.